Have you ever wondered what happens to your soul in that fleeting moment when your eyes close and the world dissolves into thick, velvety darkness? Perhaps you call it sleep. But what if it's not sleep at all, but a call? The protagonist lies in the darkness, sensing the familiar ground beneath him fading away. His heartbeat slows, his breath dissipates, and deep within his mind, a spark of unease flickers. His name. Someone whispers his name. A voice without a body, without a source, without time. He tries to open his eyes, but there are no eyelids anymore, only a velvet void like an endless ocean pulling him farther. In this darkness, there is no light, no sound, only the oppressive sense of an unseen presence. Figures. They stand there at the edge of his perception, blurred, wavering shadows as if carved from fog. They do not move, do not breathe, but their gaze feels like a blade tracing his skin. This is the beginning. The words reverberate in his mind. They are not spoken aloud, yet their meaning rolls through him in a deep, resonant echo. His heart freezes. He doesn't know who speaks, but he senses resistance is futile. This call is too ancient, too powerful to ignore. He takes a step, or is it only the illusion of one? Beneath his feet, nothing. And yet, he is moving toward where faint lights shimmer like distant embers in thick darkness. Every moment here stretches into eternity. Every breath becomes a feat. The protagonist hears new whispers, thousands of voices murmuring words in a forgotten language. Their sound resembles the rustle of dry leaves, the breath of wind in abandoned temples, the murmur of water in stone cracks. They beckon, promising answers, yet their cold persistence chills him to the bone. He knows, if he succumbs to fear, the darkness will devour him. But if he presses on, something beyond comprehension will reveal itself. And still, it is this very knowledge that gives him strength. He walks, or does he? His legs remain still, yet each moment carries the sensation of moving forward, as if the darkness itself is pushing him deeper. The path is unstable, like the quicksand of dreams, slipping beneath him, yet never letting him fall. With every step, his shoulders grow heavier. Invisible chains seem to hang from them, shackles forged from memories. Their clinking echoes through the void, bouncing off walls that don't exist. Suddenly, voices rise from the gloom. They murmur softly, plaintively, but their whispers carry a weight that chills his very core. You forgot us. You turned away. Why did you leave? These are not strangers' voices. They are his own shadows. Like scenes from past lives, fears, regrets, grief, and loss awaken and take shape before him. In the darkness, he sees vague images. The eyes of loved ones who once gazed at him with trust, now filled with sorrow. Hands he let go of too soon. Faces blurred by time, but still holding his heart hostage. His heart beats wildly, like a bird trapped in a net. He wants to cover his ears to block out the whispers, but here there are no ears, no body, only his consciousness, raw and defenseless, like a newborn. This place is built from your memory. A thought pierces him. It does not sound like a voice, but strikes as an awareness impossible to deny. Here, every pain he buried deep within his soul rises again, becoming stones on his path. He continues onward, each step making the chains pull tighter, cutting into the unseen flesh of his legs. Despair coils around him like a cold fog. Everything inside screams, "Stop, let go, forget." But something in him resists, a faint flame in his chest that refuses to be extinguished. In the distance, he notices a silhouette, tall, human-like, yet distorted. It stands motionless, as if awaiting his approach. A strange light radiates from it, not warm, not cold, but blinding and alluring all at once. The protagonist understands. What lies ahead is not the end of the path, but only a new spiral. To reach it, he must face his fears directly and decide, drag them with him forever, or break these chains once and for all. In this dense darkness, he has walked for what feels like eternity. Time here has dissolved, becoming a thick, endless current. Then, suddenly, a tiny point of light appears in the distance, barely visible, like a trembling candle flame in a stormy night. The flame pulses, calling to him. Its light carries no warmth, yet there's a promise within it, a promise of something crucial hidden beyond. The protagonist feels fear and hope blend into a bitter elixir. Each step toward the light grows heavier. The chains he still drags cut into his essence like thorns, tearing out forgotten screams. At last he draws closer. The light grows brighter, revealing something vast, a massive crumbling structure where every wall creaks and breathes with oblivion. A temple. Its walls are etched with symbols he cannot decipher, yet his soul recognizes them like a long-forgotten native tongue. Ash covers the floor, crunching underfoot and leaving fleeting traces that vanish instantly. At the center of the temple stands an altar, and on it, a mirror. It is cloaked in gray ash, its surface barely visible beneath the layer of dust. The protagonist approaches, his heart clenched like a fist. Within the mirror is darkness, but this darkness feels alive, as if it's staring back at him. Slowly, he extends a trembling hand to wipe away the ash. As his fingers touch the glass, the temple emits a low, mournful groan. The sound reverberates through the walls, the ceiling, and his own body, making every cell vibrate. The mirror awakens. On its surface, blurred shapes begin to appear, faces. One by one, they emerge from the depths, eyes heavy with sorrow, lips whispering inaudible words, gazes laden with reproach. These are the faces of all he ever loved, those he betrayed, those he lost. He wants to scream, but his voice catches in his throat. His breath grows ragged. His heart pounds so violently it feels as though it might shatter his chest. Then, realization strikes. The mirror is not showing the past. It reflects himself. All these souls are fragments of what he buried within. He whispers, "It's not them, it's me." The sound of cracking glass echoes like thunder in a starless night. Fine lines spread across the mirror's surface, resembling the veins of a living organism. From these fractures seeps a black, viscous liquid, thick as tar. It drips onto the ash below, each drop ringing through the empty temple like a tolling bell. Suddenly, the cracks widen, and the mirror flares with a dim, agonized light. In this glow, faces begin to form. First one, eyes heavy with infinite sorrow, then another, lips trembling with words never spoken. More and more faces emerge, swirling into a chaotic kaleidoscope of images. He sees his mother, her hands once warm and embracing, now outstretched in despair, as if begging for forgiveness, or demanding it. He sees a friend, eyes burning with the pain of betrayal. He sees a lover, lips whispering words he failed to hear. Every face an accusation, every breath of these shadows his own, buried, denied, and forgotten. The protagonist wants to look away, but the mirror holds him captive. It binds his mind, preventing even a blink, forcing him to watch as his heart shatters into 1,000 fragments. He reaches out, no, both hands, toward the glass, desperate to touch these faces, to ask forgiveness or feel their warmth. But his fingers slip through the surface as though through smoke. "Bring us back," one voice whispers. "Find us," echoes another. "Why did you forget?" asks the third. Again the chorus rises, multi-voiced and consuming, tearing at his mind. He wants to scream, to run, but his legs are paralyzed. Before his eyes whirl temples where he once prayed, deserts where he thirsted unto death, embraces where he sought oblivion, all of it weaving into a single tapestry, his soul torn by fear and loss. "This is an illusion," he finally whispers, his voice breaking. "This is the pain I carried. It's not them. It's me." And then a blinding light erupts from the mirror, bright as 1,000 suns. He collapses to his knees, covering his eyes, but the light pierces him, illuminating every cell of his being. The temple begins to crumble, stones thundering down from the ceiling. The walls weep ash, and the floor splits open, revealing a yawning abyss below. The light dies as suddenly as it appeared, and he remains, standing in the void, hands trembling, feeling as though he has just died and been born again. The temple crumbles, stones crash into the abyss below, and it feels as though reality itself is cracking, like thin ice under a heavy footstep. A cold, black vortex swallows the protagonist whole. He falls. No, he is no longer falling. He is dissolving. His body is gone. Only his essence remains, without flesh, without bones, without the sound of breath. All around is nothingness, so dense it feels tangible. It wraps around him, caresses him, whispers. Thousands of voices, millions of tongues. "Stay. There is no pain here. Here you will forget." He hears them, and his heart tightens with a choking fear. These whispers are sweet as venom. They sound like a promise of release, from fear, from loss, from himself. He feels his consciousness drifting, losing shape. Here, there is no time, no space, only stillness, cold and fatally beautiful. Then, shadows rise from the depths. They circle him slowly, wrapping him in invisible arms. Their forms are formless, manifestations of his pain, his weaknesses, fears he has fed his soul for centuries. They stroke him gently, like a mother comforting her child. "Aren't you tired?" whispers one. "Let go of the struggle," echoes another. "Accept us," says a third, her voice so soothing it makes him want to weep. His mind pulses. Thoughts grow thick, like heavy honey. Everything within him yearns for this peace. But deep in his being, a tiny light flickers, faint as a newborn's breath. But it is there. "No," he whispers to himself, barely audible. The shadows freeze. Their gentle hands morph into claws. Their voices distort into hissing. "You will betray yourself. You will never escape. You are alone." He screams, not with his mouth, but with his soul. The cry rips through the darkness like thunder. And then, in the absolute black, he sees a flicker, a spark, tiny, but real. It calls to him. He reaches for it, and the darkness recoils, slowly, reluctantly, screaming with a million voices. But the spark grows. Its warmth stirs a memory within him, that he was once light himself. He doesn't know how much time has passed before he realizes he is no longer falling. He is standing. On what? On nothingness. But this nothingness no longer feels so hostile. In the silence, he understands. The trial is not over, but he has survived the first battle. Around him lies absolute emptiness, devoid of even a hint of light. This place is unlike a dream or a nightmare. It feels alive, like the breath of some colossal chest. There are no sounds except for a rhythmic beating. A heart? Or is it his own pulse, magnified by the crushing silence? Suddenly, darkness thickens in the distance. It contracts, pulses, and from its depths a figure emerges. Tall, distorted, almost human, but twisted beyond recognition. Its face is chaos, eyes, mouths, and bones fused into a grotesque tapestry of pain and fury. Every movement jerks unnaturally, like a puppet tugged by unseen strings. "You've come back to me." The shadow's voice is soft, yet it booms within his mind, rattling his teeth. "How many times have we met here? How many lives have you denied me?" The protagonist says nothing. Even breathing feels dangerous. His legs tremble, but he does not run. He stands because there is nowhere to flee. This shadow is him. The parts of himself he masked, buried deep within his psyche. Rage, envy, lust, fear, betrayal. All his faces he never dared to face. The shadow steps forward. Each step resounds like a whip cracking against stone. "Did you think you could destroy me? Forget me?" Its head tilts, and eyes burn like embers. "But I am your root. I am your strength. Without me, you are hollow." The protagonist shuts his eyes, but the vision remains. A wave of revulsion and hatred rises within him. Yet strangely, there is also pity. For this shadow has always been alone, always locked away. He takes a step forward and says in a trembling voice, "I don't want to fight you anymore." The shadow freezes. Its body cracks like old wood under a storm. "What did you say?" Its voice is more surprised than angry. "I accept you. You are me, my pain, my weakness, my strength, my life, and my death." The shadow screams, 1,000 voices tearing through the void like an explosion. But the protagonist does not flinch. He reaches out, and instead of pushing it away, he embraces the monster. It trembles, thrashes, its claws rending the unseen fabric around them, but slowly, its struggle wanes. And now, in his arms, there is no monster, only himself, a small boy with tear-filled eyes. The protagonist holds him close, and their hearts begin to beat as one. The darkness retreats, not swiftly, not willingly, but its grip loosens. Instead of suffocating emptiness, there is now a soft twilight, warm and wavering like mist at dawn. He stands, still holding himself, the child who was forgotten, abandoned, and locked away in the dungeons of his mind. The child's heart beats stronger, and suddenly, his small body begins to glow faintly, as though a tiny spark has awakened within him. That spark escapes from the boy's chest and slowly rises. A small firefly, so delicate it seems it could vanish with a breath. But the protagonist extends his hands, carefully, as though holding his own breath, afraid to frighten it away. The firefly lands on his palm, and he feels a warmth long forgotten. It pulses gently, like a heart learning how to beat. The firefly's light grows brighter. Its rays touch the void, and the darkness trembles like water kissed by the first rays of sunlight. From those glimmers, something begins to form. A fragile, translucent staircase spiraling upward. He feels lightness in his body. The chains that once pulled him down are silent now, gone. Instead of the weight of centuries, there is only a buoyant ease, almost weightlessness. "I remember," he whispers, his voice different now, no longer trembling, only quiet certainty. He remembers himself before pain, before fear, before all this struggle. Himself as a source of light, not a prisoner of shadows. The firefly lifts off his palm, hovering before him, illuminating the path. The protagonist takes his first step onto the fragile staircase. Each step feels not like an effort, but an act of gratitude. He climbs, and with each meter, the air grows lighter, richer. It smells of rain-kissed earth and flowers unseen for an eternity. With each step, the staircase beneath his feet grows more solid. It no longer feels like a fragile illusion. It is now a living structure, woven from light and breath. The air hums softly, a sound like thousands of voices singing in unison. But these voices bring no fear. They sound like the breathing of the universe, gentle and infinite. The protagonist ascends higher, and suddenly he realizes he is no longer alone, yet there is no one beside him. This presence is within him, deep, all-seeing, loving. You have always searched for answers outside, the voice says. It is not heard with ears, but vibrates in every cell of his being. But you were the answer. You were the question. You were everything. He closes his eyes. Tears stream down his face, though he does not notice himself weeping. In this voice, there is no reproach, no demand, only love. A love so vast it terrifies with its boundlessness. Suddenly, the space around him blooms. At first, soft light flows like water, filling the void. Then shapes of a garden appear, trees whose crowns glitter like constellations, flowers glowing from within, grass shimmering in all shades of green and gold. There is no wind, yet every petal sways as though caressed by the breath of an unseen world. The protagonist walks through the garden, each step leaving a trail of light. He reaches out to touch one of the trees and feels a pulse, as though a heart beats within the trunk. Forgiveness is not a gift to others, the voice speaks again. It is a return to yourself. By letting go, you come home. He falls to his knees in the soft, warm grass. His hands clench, then open. All resentments, losses, and fears flow from his palms as black sparks that dissolve into the luminous air. And for the first time, he feels lightness, not only in his body, but in his soul. The garden fills with a soft chiming, like thousands of tiny bells ringing in harmony. The protagonist smiles through his tears. He opens his eyes, but it feels as though they belong to an entirely different person. His eyelids lift slowly, like the gates of an ancient temple, and beyond them, the world reveals itself, not new, yet no longer the same. The room where he sleeps is unchanged, the same walls, the same quiet, but the air is saturated with a special kind of light, soft, like the breath of spring. Every sound, the bird's song outside the window, the wind whispering through branches, resonates differently, deeper, purer. He inhales, and in that breath lies the entire universe. Each molecule of air fills his chest with light, warmth, and love. His heart beats steadily, and in that rhythm, he hears the faint echo of the garden where he had just been. The world now feels woven with invisible threads connecting him to all life. He senses them, the pulse of a tree in the yard, the breath of a person in the next room, the unseen vitality in the dewdrops clinging to the glass. His eyes are open, but his heart sees far more. He raises a hand and studies it. Every wrinkle, every line on his palm feels familiar, and yet new. This is not just a hand. It is a map of his journey, his pain, his healing. He smiles. The inner voice speaks, not as a whisper, but as his own thought. You are home. You have always been home. He sits up in bed, feeling the solid earth beneath him, not a void, not a staircase of light, but real earth. Yet now it is imbued with meaning, every grain of it a reminder that he has returned, not merely to the world, but to himself. Outside the window stretches an endless sky, studded with thousands of stars. They flicker like tiny hearts, beating in sync with his own. The air is still, filled with an invisible music that only one who has crossed between darkness and light can hear. The protagonist sits by the window. His hands rest calmly on his knees, his breathing steady, his eyes filled with a gentle glow. He no longer feels the need to search. He no longer fears the darkness, for now it has become part of him. You have always been free, the voice within speaks. But it is no longer a separate voice, not a guide, not a mentor. It is his own voice. He hears it more clearly than ever before. He gazes at the sky, and each star echoes within him with a soft light. He feels they are no longer mere specks in a cold void. They are reflections of souls, sparks of life, and each one is a part of him. A warm vibration rises in his chest, not a flame, not heat, but a quiet light. It fills him from within, flowing through his veins and saturating every cell with peace. Now he understands. Awakening is not an end. It is the beginning of an infinite return to oneself, over and over again. He smiles. Night lingers outside, but within him, the dawn has already risen. And in this silence, he hears only one thing. You have always been home to yourself.